Hello and welcome to Today News on Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki, and let's move straight to the front pages of the day, starting with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with Party National Assembly budget disagree over 6.93 trillion naira project in budget 2025. 2025 appropriation bill interrogated passed based on exact amount presented as coming from Senate. National Assembly has powers to amend budget that's coming from reps. You can see that story on page 5. And here there's a photo story with the writer that says top the seized the 753 duplexes. Ahmad Dangowa, Minister of Housing and Urban Development, and Ola Onipekun Olukoyede, chairman of the EFCC, at the handed over ceremony of the 753 Abuja duplexes seized by the EFCC in Abuja yesterday. Now, on page 13, how I beg Jaradua not to fight Obasanjo, that's coming from Lamido. On page 13, 2.9 million Nigerian children suffering from severe malnutrition, that's coming from UNICEF. How stray bullets killed a WAEC student during chase in Ibadan. On page 30, sport, doping, 6 athletes sacked from sport festival. Above the banner on page 19, Disco's performance is power supply disappointed, that's coming from federal government. UTME results due to human error, not technical glitch, that's coming from reps. Time magazine names Aliko Dangote among top 100 philanthropists worldwide. You can see that on page 26. And lastly, on Vanguard newspaper, on page 8, 2027, 5 Southeast governors are with Tinubu, that's according to OBI. Now let's move to The Guardian. The Guardian leading story says FPC seeks fiscal support on naira stability, retains interest rate at 27.5%. You can see that on page 5. And on page 7, Lagos State government clarifies the water sachet PET bottle not included in single-use plastic ban. Gateway 2025, over 10 billion are direct clothing sold in 10 days, says Olopade. You can see that on page 7. On page 5, ECOWAS at 50. Gowon restates Nigeria's foreign policy trust as Akpabio urges unity and stability. Umahi affirms Southeast governor support for Tinubu's second term bid. Federal government to dispose 753 housing unit linked to Emefiele. You can see that on page 5. PDP turmoil escalates with Southeast factions at odds over secretariatship. You can see that on page 6, directly below the banner. That on page 7. And lastly, on the Guardian newspaper, ICPC bust bank account of 6-week bachelor degree racket. You can see that on newspaper 3. And let's move to the Nation. Nation's leading story says Umahi, all Southeast governors backing Tinubu for second term. Plan for Southeast summit on endorsement on course. President performance wonderful, says Edo. You can see that on page 7. No governance in Rivers when I declared emergency. President tells the Supreme Court. You can see that on page 5. PDP senators differ with governors over coalition. Party remains strong. Reps panel Ohaneze seek independent probe of UTME glitches. You can see that on page 26. And above the banner, Emefiele, EFCC hands over Emefiele linked 753 Abuja duplexes to government. Oyo House OK's rotation of Oba's council chairmanship. Senators not elected to fight President Akpabio declares. And lastly, on the Nation newspaper, what retention of lending rate at 27.50% means for economy by experts. You can see that on page 4. And lastly, the Punch leading story says May 29, Tinubu to review ministers' scorecards. President may get ministers' new assessment report this week. Low performing ministers under pressure. You can see that on page 23. Immigration mobilizes a joint task force against terror threats. Missing Lagos bankers' calls found in morgue. You can see that on pages 4 and 5. OPS falls MPC over 27.5% interest rate. Above the banner, Senate to draft new framework for local government autonomy. Federal panel submits key report on census funding, and dollar outflow for fuel import surges 119%. You can see that on page 28. And lastly, on the Punch newspaper, Sectional Council protesters Oyo Assembly backtracks. You can see that on page 48 of the Punch newspaper. And that's what we have on the front pages of the dailies. Join us after the break for a brief analysis of some of the stories. Welcome back. If you are just joining me, this is today the news on Vagad Life. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki, and joining me to analyze some of the stories on front pages this morning is Mr. Gbero Olajigbe. He's the Executive Director of Emergency and Risk Alert. Good morning, Mr. Gbero. Good morning. It's a pleasure being with you. Yes, and the National Assembly and the Civic Organization budget yesterday disagreed over insertion of 11,122 projects worth 6.93 trillion naira into the 2025 budget. They disagreed over insertion of 11,122 projects the 2025 budget. The lawmaker is described as not in alignment with the medium-term national development plan and the other national priorities. What do you think about this? Well, this is not strange in terms of what they call value, but I have written extensively on this in what in one of the articles I declare I titled "Parliament of the Best," Parliament of Best. So the issue is that they continue with this immoral act, they continue with this illegal act, unconstitutional act, because citizens have tolerated that. There's no act, citizens have not become active agents. So as we square up to this, that parliamentarians are not expected to execute projects. They can quote anywhere, any country, but it must be in our constitution and our law before they can embark on that illegal, on that type of venture. But astonishingly, we have accepted that, we have accommodated it, and it has become the norm. And this is what I call officialization of corruption. So we have made it official. Every year in, year out, we continue to see this extreme, well orchestrated corrupt practices in the parliament. And there is no end in sight because it has been tolerated, it has been accommodated, even when law has not said so, when our constitution didn't say so or does not say so. So it's